Alright, so our next focus is going to be looking at our lesson 1 for unit 3, and that was looking at the date palm. So if we looked at those true and false ones and the don't know, those are really just your answers. But let's look at that. The date palm is tall, and if we're looking at that picture, we would definitely say true. It is tall. We can see that person climbing up it. Number 2, most date palms grow in cold places. We'd have to say false. We would say that probably they're going to grow in pretty hot places. And number 3, the fruit of the date palm is poisonous. And we could put false for that as well. Otherwise, people would not be getting the fruit. So true, false, false. So let's go ahead and look on over on page number 73, the date palm, and let's go ahead and read this. I'm going to read it aloud, and this way you will at least be able to hear the English words being spoken for it. And then I will go back and we'll go over those vocab words that are in the reading and make sure that we understand what they mean. My suggestion to you, even though there's no way for me to grade you on this really, is I would really suggest, I will be reading it aloud, but then I would suggest that you go through and read it aloud, practice it, and it's okay if you don't say every word correctly, but just the more that your tongue gets used to speaking English, the better and more fluently you'll be able to speak it. So read these readings out loud just on your own time, and that will help you a lot. So reading number 1, the date palm. The date palm is a wonderful tree. People eat dates. They feed them to their animals. They use the leaves and the wood to build houses. They use the wood to build boats. They make baskets from the leaves. They burn the other parts of the tree to cook their food. The date palm came from the Middle East. 7,000 years ago, people in Syria and Egypt ate dates. They made pictures of date palms on their stone buildings. Today, date palms grow in the Middle East, parts of Asia and Africa, Southern Europe, and other warm parts of the world. There are more than 2,700 kinds of palm trees. Most of them cannot grow in the Middle East because it is too dry. The date palm grows there very well. Hundreds of years ago, people in Southern Europe and some Arab countries made pictures of palm trees and palm flowers on some of their buildings. Today, we can see these pictures in art museums. People think that the palm tree is beautiful. People thought the same thing a long time ago. All right, so let's go over some of these words. The first word in bold is what? That's right, you got it, date palm. And of course, we don't need to give a definition of that. We can just look at the picture and see a date palm is a type of tree. And then we can see wonderful is that second word in bold. And once again, let's ask ourselves, what part of speech is wonderful? How does it function in a sentence? How should we use it? And we can look and we see, is it going to be a noun, a verb, adjective, or adverb? And if we look at that, let's look at what comes after wonderful. We see tree. We know that tree is a noun. It's a thing. So wonderful is going to be that adjective. And if something's wonderful, you all probably know what this means, but it's very good. It's great. It's wonderful. So wonderful, something that's very, very good. And then let's look at that next vocab word in bold. What one is that? And you should be looking at the word feed there. If you look over to the right side, you can see feed means to give food to. They feed them to their animals. So once again, we've got a verb, we've got an action here. You can feed your child, you can feed your wife, feed your husband, or feed your animals. In other words, you're giving them food. And we look at the next word in bold. If you look over, see what that one is. And you can see that word is leaves, and that's a plural word. The singular is going to be a regular leaf. If you look over to the right side, it's going to show you that spelling L-E-A-F for the singular. But they use the leaves. And if you look at that picture, you can figure out the context. Leaves is going to be what's growing off of the trees there. And if you've been taking walks outside or been looking outside your window, you should be noticing lots of leaves growing on the tree right now. So they use the leaves, and then look at that next word in bold, and you can see the word wood. So wood there is going to mean that's what we burn. That's wood is what the tree is made out of there. And then look for that next word in bold, and we see baskets. Baskets we use to carry things. So you can put your grocery items in a basket, or you can put your child in a basket and push them along. But baskets are used to carry things. Look at that next word in bold, and that's burn. And we already talked about that, but burn, you set fire to something. Look at the next word in bold. See, what is that one? And we see it is ago, so something that happened at an earlier time before we talked about that. Then look at the next word in bold, and you can see, what word is that? We can see that's the word stone. So stone buildings, and that would just be a type of material. So if there's stones from creeks, we also use stone buildings there. And then look on down, look at the next word in bold, and we can see that word is southern, which you should recognize part of that word. Part of that word would be south. So if we're talking directions, of course we have north, south, east, west. But we can also change the word, not the meaning, just change the word, change the form of the word to southern, northern, eastern, and western. And when we add that ERN, what we're doing is we're just changing that word to make it into an adjective. So it can describe, in this case it's describing Europe. So southern Europe's saying southern would be in the bottom. So north is the top, and then south is the bottom, so southern Europe. If we think of southern states in the U.S., Florida is one of the southern states. We can say Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, all of those are southern states in the U.S. Then the last we see art museums, and we talked about the word museums, but a place where you can go to look at typically very old and also very beautiful things as well that have lots of history to them. All right, I hope that was helpful for the vocab. Of course, you can look up those words and translate them into your own language, but also be challenging yourself to be thinking of definitions in English as well. That will help you a lot.